everybody, welcome back to All Inclusive Sports. Been a little bit of a delay between our last videos. Unfortunately, I was ill, and then as soon as I recovered from the flu, I got ill with a stomach bug, like back to back. It was no fun. I wanted to do a video about Jackie Robinson Day and the importance of it. Wanted to do a little bit more pre-draft build-up, but here we are. So tomorrow is the NFL draft, so this is going to be my first round mock draft. Waited till the last minute, but here we go. So not only am I going to give you my first round mock draft, I do have, I believe, one or two trades in there that I think might happen. I'm going to give you my favorite player in the draft. I'm going to give you my least favorite player in the draft. And I'm going to give you a few sleepers. And I'm going to try to give you what I think my NFL comparison is to most of these guys, because I have spent a lot of my time being sick watching film and just watching so many highlights of these players. So it's going to be an exciting draft. It's not as good of a draft, in my opinion, as previous ones, especially in the quarterback position, but there are definitely some great defensive players and some stud wide receivers. So let's get into it. Draft day. One of the most exciting days of the year and kicking off one of the most exciting long weekends of the year for football fans. This is the 4 days that can just absolutely make or break your franchise. Trust me, I'm an Eagles fan, and I'm still cursing the day we drafted Jalen Reagor. So, exciting day, and here is my official mock draft the day before the NFL draft. With the first pick in the 2022 NFL draft, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan. I think he's all what you're looking for in a first overall pick. He's a great pass rusher. He's got an incredible motor. I think he's going above of Trevon Walker because you know what you're getting with Aiden Hutchinson. You're getting the full package. I believe Walker is a lot more potential, and his potential could be better than Hutchinson, but it's hard to gamble on potential when you have the number one overall pick. Take the known commodity. Take the guy who you know is going to be on your D-line for years to come. Aiden Hutchinson, number one. Second overall, I have the Detroit Lions selecting Trayvon Walker, defensive end from Georgia. Now, this guy is insane. He's got so much potential, but the thing that I don't like is he didn't have very many sack numbers last year for someone who's, going 2 overall in my mock draft, and a lot of people have him going number 1 overall. I think his potential is a higher ceiling JPP, but the problem is if he can't get the sacks in the SEC, what's he going to do in the NFL? Lots of potential, and I think that Detroit needs some type of playmaker, and I think they take the small gamble on an amazing player. Third overall, I have the Houston Texans taking Sauce Gardner, the best cornerback in the draft and arguably my favorite player in the draft. This guy's a lockdown corner. No one threw it on him because they knew it was either going to be intercepted or incomplete. He's an absolute lockdown corner. I think that he's going to be like Antonio Cromartie if Antonio Cromartie was the best cornerback in the NFL. I think this guy is an easy pick. He's going to help out the horrible Houston Texans secondary, and I think he is a really, really good player. Number 4, I have the Jets taking Ikwonu, the first tackle coming off the board. They need to protect Zach Wilson, and I think his NFL comparison is Tristan Wirfs, and if you're getting that type of tackle with the 4th overall pick, I think you're happy. And I think they help out their offense and help out Zach Wilson by getting him some protection. And number 5, I have my first trade. So I think that the New York Giants are going to move back and the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to move up to 5. And I think that with the 5th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Malik Willis, quarterback from Liberty. This is a weak quarterback class, but Malik Willis looks like he has the most potential out of all the quarterbacks. I would say his NFL comp would probably be a better armed, slightly better accuracy Jalen Hurts. They have very similar playing style. They're very good at the RPO offense, and there's a lot of reports that this is who the Steelers want. So We'll have to see if they move up and get it. It's a bold prediction, but I think they want to move up ahead of the teams in the draft that are maybe rumored to be looking at a quarterback. Coming in at number 6, the Carolina Panthers select Kenny Pickett, quarterback from Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett was actually recruited by Matt Rule when Matt Rule was at Baylor. So Matt Rule does have a connection with Kenny Pickett. And I think that Matt Rule needs to marry himself to a quarterback in order to give himself some more time. Because if they don't grab a quarterback and they go roll it with Sam Darnold next year and they're abysmal again, the management might think about getting a new coach to pair with a new quarterback in the next draft. So I think he pairs himself with Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett looks like he's the most NFL quarterback coming out of the draft. I'd say that his ceiling is probably Tony Romo. His floor would probably be later career Andy Dalton. So I don't think we're looking at an elite quarterback here, but if he's in the right offense, he can definitely be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Number 7, since the Giants traded back, their first pick in the NFL draft is going to be Charles Cross, the tackle from Mississippi State. When I watched his film, he seems very similar to Bakhtiari, the left tackle from the Packers. Obviously not quite on the same level, but for years we've been saying that the Giants need to shore up that O-line. I think the reason that they traded back from the 5th overall pick is because they know that they're probably going to need some ammunition to get a quarterback next year. So this year, get a solid tackle, help protect Daniel Jones, see if you have anything with Daniel Jones. If not, get a quarterback next year, and at least you have some protection for the new quarterback coming in. And number 8, this is my boldest prediction of the draft. I think the Atlanta Falcons trade back with the Dallas Cowboys, and that's where the Cowboys draft Kayvon Thibodeau, the defensive edge rusher from Oregon. So there's a little problem with Thibodeau, off-the-field issues. Not so much off-the-field issues, but people are questioning his love for the game. People are questioning if he's all in on football. And it's hard to draft a guy in the top 5, regardless how talented they are, if that's their view on football. That's why I don't think that with the 3rd overall pick, Houston will get him, because they've already had Jadeveon Clowney. They tried that experiment. And he's very similar to Jadeveon Clowney, it seems, off the field. So I'm going to say that if he reaches his potential, he's going to be an absolutely amazing Jadeveon Clowney. I think he's the risk that Jerry Jones is willing to take. They need to get a pass rusher on that D-line. They were really poor on the D-line last year. I think Jerry Jones is seeing his Super Bowl window shrink and shrink and shrink, and I think that he takes a leap of faith, trades up, and gets a guy who could be an absolute stud pass rusher to help the other side with Micah Parsons. And number 9, I have the Seattle Seahawks selecting Evan Neal, the offensive tackle from Alabama. They need to protect their O-line. I think Seattle's going to end up going out and getting Baker Mayfield, just see if, he works out for them or not. I don't think they're going to be looking for a quarterback this draft. And if they do, it'll be in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. So I think they go ahead and get Evan Neal, who I think needs to work a little bit on his footwork. He's very similar to Whitworth, the old Rams tackle and longtime Bengal. But if he can work on getting that footwork down and not just being all upper body, I think he'll be a solid tackle, and I think he will really help protect whatever quarterback ends up starting this year in Seattle. And coming in at number 10, the Jets need to help get a weapon for Zach Wilson, and I think they take the first wide receiver off the board, Drake London from USC. Drake London is a big body to go and get the football type of receiver. He's not the fastest. He's very similar to Mike Evans. Just, I'm going to win the ball. I want the ball more than you. I do not think he's the best receiver in this draft. I would say he's the 3rd or 4th best receiver in this draft. But for Zach Wilson and what the Jets need, I think he's the perfect fit. And that's why I think he comes off the board at 10. At 11, we have the Washington Commanders. And I think they go wide receiver. They need some help, especially with Carson Wentz. And I think they get Garrett Wilson, the wide receiver from Ohio State. Garrett Wilson would be in the argument for the best receiver in this draft, in my opinion. I think his NFL comp is very similar to Stephon Diggs. They're both silky smooth route runners, very fast. Garrett Wilson has great hands, and I, unfortunately, as an Eagles fan, think that he's going to help out Washington a lot. So, number 11, Garrett Wilson to the Commanders. At number 12, the Minnesota Vikings select Kyle Hamilton, safety from Notre Dame. I think if he fell to Minnesota, they would be as happy as can be. He's a very good safety. The only problem is all the teams ahead of him don't quite need a safety as much as Minnesota. And historically, if we look at safeties who've been drafted in the top 10, I just don't think they help out the team as much as a pass rusher, wide receiver, offensive lineman, quarterback. So Kyle Hamilton, similar to Derwin James, not the fastest. That's his only knock, but great in run defense, good in coverage. He's in the right position to make up for that speed. He's an excellent player, and I think that he really helps shore up the back end of that secondary for the Vikings. Number 13, the Houston Texans need to get a pass rusher, and they select Jermaine Johnson II, edge rusher from Florida State. Similar comp to Aldon Smith, the old San Francisco pass rusher who I believe went to Oakland and the Cowboys for a little bit in his career. But this guy is incredible. He gets after the quarterback really well, finishes his tackles. He pursues the quarterback as well as anyone in this draft. I like him a lot. He's one of my sleepers. I could see him going in the top 10 for a team that needs a pass rusher. And I think the Houston Texans, this really helps out their defensive line. He is a fantastic player. And at 14, the Baltimore Ravens select Derek Stingley Jr., the cornerback out of LSU. I think I have him a lot lower than maybe where he will go or where other people have him. His freshman year was insane. He was getting interceptions left and right. No one wanted to throw it against him because he was just a playmaker on the outside. And then the years after, not so great. Had some issues. Footwork-wise, he was getting burned a lot, and he kind of seems like Trayvon Diggs, all or nothing at times. I'd say that his NFL comp would be Lattimore from the Saints probably, if we were to say what his ceiling would be. I think he's definitely a good corner. The risk-reward factor is a little tough. If he can work with some good coaching, he's definitely got the talent to be a top corner. But I think the Ravens need someone in that secondary. They need a corner, and I think they select the best one on the board. And number 15, the Philadelphia Eagles select Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams, I think, is the best wide receiver with Garrett Wilson. If it wasn't for the injury, I think he'd be the first one coming off the board. But there are some reports saying that he might not be able to play until at least week 10. So that is a problem. But he's insane. I would say that he's very similar to a prime Deshaun Jackson, not just a pure speed guy, but also a great route runner, great hands. Him and Devontae Smith would be very interesting to see together. The only thing is they don't have a physical presence between the two of them. But he's a fantastic wide receiver, and whatever team that get him will be very happy, and it'll be worth having him sit for the first, half of the season while he gets healthy. At 16, we have another wide receiver coming off the board as the Saints select Chris Olave, wide receiver from Ohio State. So he's very similar to Amari Cooper, maybe a little bit more of a jump ball guy than Amari Cooper, but excellent route runners, just excellent route runners. I think Chris Olave might be the most NFL-ready wide receiver coming out of the draft. Watched a lot of him at Ohio State. Jameis Winston, needs a better weapon, and I think the Saints go out and get it for him. At 17, the Chargers select Jordan Davis, defensive lineman from Georgia. They need a guy to plug up the middle, and this guy can do it. He is massive and fast. If he can keep some weight off, I think that his ceiling could be as good as J.J. Watt's. Maybe if just interior J.J. Watt. If he doesn't keep the weight off, unfortunately, he's not going to be able to play as many snaps as you would like. And that's where we're looking at maybe a Vita Vea. Not, quite as good, but he's still a stud. Jordan Davis goes 17. With the 18th overall pick and their second pick of the first round, I have the Philadelphia Eagles selecting Andrew Booth Jr., cornerback from Clemson. Eagles need to select the middle linebacker here, but it's Howie Roseman we're talking about. So I think they go out and get a cornerback, someone they can play opposite of Darius Slay. He seems in his tape similar to J.C. Jackson, which wouldn't be a terrible player to have on the other side. He's a very, very solid cornerback. Definitely has a few issues. Gets caught out positionally sometimes, but overall looks like a very promising corner, and I think he's good value at number 18. At 19, with their second pick in the first round, the Saints select Trevor Penning, the tackle from Northern Iowa. This guy is a run-blocking monster. Just so good. Struggles a little bit in the pass blocking, but, definitely something he can be coached. I think that he's one of my favorite tackles to watch. He's very, very violent and aggressive. And the only thing is I think he might get a few penalties after the play with how he just plays until the whistle. So we'll have to see how he translates from Northern Iowa to the NFL, but I think some protection for the Saints' offensive line, especially after losing their starting left tackle, is definitely a good pick. At 20, after trading back with the Steelers, the New York Giants select George Karlaftis, the edge rusher from Purdue. They've already addressed the offensive line. Now they need to address the defensive line. George Karlaftis is a huge physical defensive end. Just needs to work his lower body like his upper body. I'm watching some of his tape. His lower body, his legs just didn't seem to have the same strength as his upper body. And sometimes he would get, blocked pretty easily because of that. But I think that he's definitely good value for the 20th pick. Gives them a new dynamic on the outside, and he looks like an overall really good player. At 21, the New England Patriots solve their linebacker issue and get Devin Lloyd from Utah. Devin Lloyd, everyone seems to think he looks like Fred Warner, and I can't deny it. This guy is up there with Sauce Gardner, with one of my favorite players in this draft. This guy is insane. He can tackle well, he can cover well. He's a great all-around middle linebacker, and I think pairing him with Bill Belichick, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of him in years to come. Devin Lloyd, 21 to the Patriots. At 22, the Packers select Treylon Burks, wide receiver from Arkansas. Big, physical, strong, fast wide receiver. I'd say he's similar to A.J. Brown in player type. I think the Packers need to go wide receiver. They need to get some weapons for Aaron Rodgers if they have any chance of trying to make it back to the Super Bowl or to the NFC Championship game where they seem to always lose. But this guy is an awesome wide receiver. I think he's a little underrated. Watching him in Arkansas just destroying SEC defenses. So 22, Treylon Burks. At 23, the Arizona Cardinals select Trent McDuffie, cornerback from Washington. I think they need to shore up that secondary. Trent McDuffie is the highest cornerback on the board, in my opinion. And I think you're getting a solid guy who, can play slot, but also outside. So a good cornerback at 23, Trent McDuffie to the Cardinals. With the 24th pick, after trading down with Dallas, I have the Atlanta Falcons selecting Arnold Ebiketie. I butchered that a little bit, but nickname AK, defensive end from Penn State. This guy's an animal. He had a PFF pass rusher ranking of 95 last year, and he even blocked the field goal week 1 against Wisconsin. This guy, I think, is a huge sleeper. Should go in the first round. He's a great pass rusher, very similar to Montez Sweat with the speed and power, and I think that he helps the Atlanta Falcons defense a lot this year.
25th overall, the Buffalo Bills select Zion Johnson from Boston College. He's probably the best guard in the draft. I think their right guard position they could use some help on. And just shore up the O-line for, Josh Allen. They have decent defense, great offense. Just shore up that O-line, get a good guy in there with the 25th pick, and, keep on throwing it, keep on running it, and keep on letting that offense do its thing. 26th overall, Tennessee Titans are in desperate need of a wide receiver. And I think they want to move away from the type of wide receiver of Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. And I think they go ahead and get Sky Moore, wide receiver from Western Michigan. He's a slot guy, pretty similar to Julian Edelman, just more athletic probably and faster. I think Sky Moore could be a very good slot receiver in the NFL, and I think he's what Tennessee is looking for. 27 overall, Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Tyler Linderbaum, center from Iowa. This guy's another one of my favorites. He's probably the best center coming out of college since, I want to say, Travis Fredericks. He's very similar play style to Jason Kelsey, just bigger. And I think this guy's going to be like Quentin Nelson type impact. He's so good, and I think he helps the Buccaneers offensive line immensely. At 28, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting Jahan Dotson, wide receiver from Penn State. A little bit different from Traylon Burks, more of a smaller guy, but fast, incredible route runner, and arguably the best hands in this draft. I would say his pro comp would be Tyler Lockett, and I think that he has the potential to be even better than Tyler Lockett, but incredible route runner. I'm just going to go ahead and say it, best hands in the draft, and I think the Packers offense looks really good going into next year with both these wide receivers. At 29, I have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting George Pickens, wide receiver from Georgia. Has some off-the-field issues, could actually slide out of the first round because of the worries, but I think that KC take the talent. Similar player to T. Higgins, get a big, good, strong wide receiver for Mahomes to throw to, try to replace, Tyreek Hill leaving, and try to get some more weapons on the outside for Patrick Mahomes. And 30th overall, back-to-back picks for the Chiefs. I have them selecting Lewis Seen, safety from Georgia. They have to replace Tyrann Mathieu. I don't think that he re-signs with them. Very similar to Jesse Bates. Great all-around safety that can play corner if needed. And I think that he helps re-shore up that secondary after they lose Tyrann Mathieu. And 31 overall, I have the Cincinnati Bengals selecting Kenyon Green, the guard from Texas A&M. Pretty similar to Damian Woody. Good, solid, big guard. And I think they just need to keep protecting Burrow. I think that if it wasn't for their O-line, they probably win the Super Bowl last year. So they made some great moves in the offseason, and I think they make this final one in the first round to truly shore up that O-line and let Burrow reach his true potential even better than he was last year. And with the final pick, the 32nd pick in the first round, I have the Detroit Lions selecting Daxton Hill, the cornerback from Michigan. I'm not even going to call him a cornerback. I'm going to call him a defensive back because he can play anywhere. He can play safety, he can play corner. And I think he is just what Detroit needs. Detroit just needs good players to be put into that defense in order to make plays. They already have pretty decent cornerbacks, and I think that him adding to the cornerback group, or if they want to play him more as a safety, which he's had great success for Michigan, I think that they're on the right track to making that defense better and better. And he's honestly one of my sleepers and one of my favorite players in this draft. So that is my complete first round mock draft for the 2022 NFL draft. Let me know what you guys think, if you agree, if you disagree. I would have to say that some of my favorite players in this draft would have to be Sauce Gardner, Devin Lloyd, A.K. or Ebiketie from Penn State, and Jahan Dotson. And maybe some that I think might be a little overrated are Derek Stingley Jr., probably Evan Neal out of all the top 10 tackles. Thibodeau, it'll be interesting to see. And honestly, I do not think that George Pickens is going to be as good as maybe some people think. But overall, it's going to be exciting to watch. And thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.